I try to not come off as a fanboy but admit that, for me, he's saying all the right things. For years, I've dreamed of a scrambler that was an honest-to-God homage to the bikes that ruled the Southern California desert in the '60s and '70s. It didn't have to be capable of winning hare and hound races, but it needed at least to be willing to dip its toes in the dirt on something other than graded fire roads, and do so without rattling itself or my insides to pieces. Most of the Scrambler line and its competition are not really meant for this, and Ducati has known it. Even when we were in Palm Springs for the launch of the original Scrambler in 2014, we had a few meters in off-road, and we immediately understood that we had to improve the bike for this, D'Angeli admits. So the Desert Sled was clear in our mind since then. In the interim, many a scrambler have been beaten, battered, and bruised by riders asking them to be something they're not. Like, say, dirt bikes. Problem there was that the scrambler's swing arm and frame weren't designed for the abuse, and plunging back to terra firma generally led to cracks in places where, well, you don't want cracks. On the Desert Sled, a pair of plates hug the engine and support the swing arm, which itself is reinforced and longer, so jumps won't lead it to the same fate. The frame is reinforced, the spoked front wheel is now 19 inches, and the footpegs are bigger, too, for fancier footwork as you work your way down a trail. The 803cc engine goes untouched, but the fully adjustable 46mm Kayaba fork versus 41mm and longer shock add much needed travel, a total of 7.9 inches at each end. A motocross-style handlebar feels more tailored to standing up in the dirt, and a small skid plate offers up at least a little protection. I had a chance to throw a leg over the bike before its fateful jump and can say these changes to push the bike further towards something I'd willingly tear through the desert on. Power from that air-cooled mill still feels relatively soft, but the user-friendly delivery means you can break the rear loose with better control and confidence. The bike doesn't clatter, clank, or bottom out over washouts and feels more than willing to tear down moderately technical single track. You'll have to be careful you don't confuse it for a full-on dirt bike, as the weight, 456 pounds, and wide front tires still catch you out in tricky, loose sections. It doesn't feel like you're doing something you're not supposed to be though. And that's the point. I hint that this is an interesting evolution, but D'Angeli says, I think if you look back at the first desert bikes, it's the same. They got better in the dirt because riders demanded more, he hints, and this is how those bikes migrated away from a real street pretense. I don't know how far riders will be willing to push the Desert Sled. But as I stand back and watch McElroy launch off this berm-turned impromptu jump and square into a sand wash, then circle back for one more shot, I realize that they'll have a lot more fun finding these new limits. The Scrambler has evolved, and I can't wait to get my hands on one.